So my wife and I just bought our first house, and both of her parents, brothers, cousins, and uncles are going to be there to help. I come from a smaller, more dysfunctional family, and the only one who offered to help on my side is my mom, who I have a great relationship with. She committed to helping me over a month ago. She has a 14-year-old dog who has been sick for a while, and she might have to put it down. She's really attached to the dog and has been struggling with the notion of putting it down. Well, we move in next weekend, and my sister, who booked a trip to Florida the week of my move-in date, asked my mom on Monday of this week if she wanted to go with her to take her mind off of it. My mom bought the tickets on Monday, and I found out today through my sister that my mom isn't coming to help and that she's going to Florida. My mom had the tickets for 4 days and never said anything to me. I feel embarrassed that no one from my family is helping me, and my wife is pissed at my mom. I feel bad because I know she's going through a tough time, but I also feel like if she committed to something and then reneged on it, she should have at least told me. I initially confronted her about it. I haven't said anything to her since because I'm pissed, but I also don't know if I'm even in the right for being pissed or if I'm being an asshole. Again, I have a good relationship with my mom, and she has helped me a lot before.
My husband has 3 kids from the previous marriage, and we have one that is ours. We recently moved to the same town as his kids, and a few months in, the kid's mom decided to move to another state with her boyfriend. The 2 older teenagers said they didn't want to leave their school, and the youngest one decided to go with her. She did not communicate any of that with us. The 2 kids were basically just dropped off with all of their belongings at our place. So not only did she leave her kids behind, but also broke the siblings up that have been together since birth. I want to mention my husband travels for work and is mostly gone. I am home with all the kids most of the time, and our relationship is not the best. Also, the kids were usually staying with us the whole summer vacation every year at our previous home, and we were seeing them occasionally on holidays and in spring and fall. Recently, I found out one of the kids is telling lies about me to make her feel better, maybe, and I do not want any of that drama and nonsense around my son. As much as I try to make it feel like home for them, I am not their mother that they grew up with and that they're used to. Plus, we weren't even going to stay in this town, as my husband travels for work and we're trying to save up for a house. Maybe I'm being too harsh, but this whole situation put a big halt to our lives, and we're stuck in this town now, living in a very small space that we had to figure out quickly, since our 3-member family became a family of 5 overnight. I guess I'm just ranting and looking for some outside views on the situation. My son is 15 months and I, 31 female, have mostly been a stay-at-home. Originally, I didn't make that much, so I've been taking unpaid leave from work. My husband, 32 male, makes a good amount, but we've been barely making it, and sometimes with help. My husband and both our families love that I've been able to spend all my time with my son, but it's been starting to wear on me. He's become extremely attached to me. He won't sleep with his dad anymore. We can't get him to wean. He's refusing bottles now and only wanting boob. I have no one to help watch him during the day. We don't live near family, and my husband is the only one in his department, so he can't leave work. I'm having to cancel doctor's appointments over and over. A few months ago, my union came to an agreement and I got a large raise. I've been trying to work a second shift, but my son is not content with his dad now, and I work from home, so I can't have him crying constantly in the background. I found a daycare near us that's recommended and not that expensive. Even if I don't work full hours, we'd end up with an extra $1,000 a month. My husband was immediately disgusted with the idea and has been sending me videos on Facebook about how children aren't meant to go to daycare and how fast you miss moments with your kids. Both our families are also on his side. I'm so frustrated because they've pretty much left me to deal with all this alone, and when I finally see a light, they're trying to crap on me for it. Of course, I'd love to not have to, but I can't take being broke with no freedom anymore.
My ex-wife, 45 female, and I, 43 male, are in the process of divorce. We have 2 kids in high school. She started to hate me during the last year of my marriage, along with mood swings and just being shitty. The only thing I could think of at that time was that she was hormonal. She didn't like it when I told her that. She would get defensive. I told her to see a doctor, but she refused. I gave her an ultimatum to go to therapy and go see a doctor, or we are done. She asked for a divorce. I didn't argue. I told her that's fine if that's what she wants. She told me I am a mediocre husband and she is better off alone. That definitely defines me. I am a mediocre husband. I am not very good looking, and I am not a millionaire. I never cheated, so I guess I am not a bad husband, just mediocre. She filed the petition for divorce. Then a few months later, she suddenly withdrew it and told me that she was having second thoughts. I filed the petition myself because I met a woman 36 female who was nice to me. I couldn't have gone back to my ex-wife after that. Turns out my ex-wife's sister convinced her to see a doctor as she discussed her period irregularities with her. She was going through perimenopause and she just started hormone replacement therapy. She started dragging the process, so we have been going through a divorce for like forever. My girlfriend found out she is pregnant. I told her that I was a mediocre dude and that's why my ex left me. She told me that she is also a mediocre woman and she wants to raise a mediocre kid with me and live in a mediocre house and live a mediocre life. So she is now my fiancée and wife as soon as I get divorced. I thought news of her pregnancy would make my ex-wife understand that our marriage ended, but she went crazy about it. She is now claiming I abandoned her when she needed me the most and that I am a bad person for having a kid when she is going through menopause. She left me first. My wife, 34 female, and I, 39 male, have been married for about 10 years. During this time, I have done the majority of the cooking. Having kitchen experience, I am confident in my abilities, and she fell in love with my cooking fairly early on in our relationship. She did occasionally cook for me during this time, but I mostly wanted to avoid it because, to be brutally honest, it was never any good. Now that we have a 4-year-old son and she's a stay-at-home mom, she's cooking a lot more, and it's not going well. I've heard her have the same argument with our son probably 100 times by now. It always goes the same way. She cooks something that he has previously said he doesn't like. He expresses his disgust with yuck. She throws a giant tantrum and tells him that if he can't eat his dinner, he should get out. He cries and argues back, and I'm left picking up the pieces. Well, last night my wife decided to make her seafood stew. Her seafood stew is among her worst recipes. She essentially throws a bunch of fish in a pot, overcooks it, throws in some vegetables. Yes, she puts the vegetables in after the fish, and then throws in a couple of cans of tomatoes and lets it stew for a while. It manages to be both devoid of any actual flavor because she barely seasons it, but the acidity of the canned tomatoes is downright horrible. I've been trying valiantly to eat her cooking for the better part of a decade now, and even I find it awful. The second my son saw the stew, he said he wasn't going to eat a bite of it. Naturally, my wife flipped her lid at him and told him to get out. Instead of trying to de-escalate them, I told her that it was her own damn fault for never even trying to learn to cook, and that maybe she should be getting out if she can't feed her own child. She shrieked at the top of her lungs, said she'd eat all the stew herself, and stormed away. I just snapped. I reached my breaking point. Now I'm afraid I went too far.